Alright guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to go over the final KVK stats, both from like the season in retrospect and just some stuff in the reports manager. But more so, I want to actually just kind of go over my thoughts about the KVK, about the kingdom, about stuff that I learned, hopefully stuff that you can take away from stuff that I learned. And then finally, what's next, right? For me personally, what's next for the kingdom. And this personally is my 7th KVK. It is not the 7th KVK in 2268. Just want to make that pretty clear. So here are the stats. I ended up with 121 million kills. That ended up being ranked 27th overall in the KVK. I think my previous high was like 47 or 48 million, so obviously it's significantly higher. We'll go over a little bit about that later. It's not like I just became a much better player this KVK. A lot of it is just the nature of the seeding, the amount of fighting you get, and I think that's very important for people to understand. I ended up healing about 70 million troops, obviously the most I've ever done too. I think that before the most I've ever healed was like 23 million or something like that. And that ended up being ranked, I think, 32nd in the KVK. And then the DES 2.3 mil, I did not rank in the top 100 in the DEDs. I think like 3.3 million was about the 100th place. Reality for me, I don't hit 90 million power. I think I hit somewhere between like 85 to 87 million per KVK. And if I was to actually fully use up either my resources or speeds and I wanted to kill off all my troops, I could probably push that number to 4 mil. But for this KVK, I never came close to using up all my resources or speeds. For the resources, I used about 6 bill food and wood, about 3 bill stone, and then about 2.5 bill gold. So obviously I didn't use that much gold. I ran full T4 for a huge chunk of this KVK, only until I maxed special medicine, right, which is what reduces the healing cost or the resource cost of healing T5s. When you max that, you can reduce it by 40%. I didn't use any T5, or I tried not to until I did that. And then after that, I was running full T4 and T5, which is why you can see this reports manager that I pulled up here, right, from Cubist Mics. The KP ratio overall was 2.21 to 1, but the kill ratio, right, the amount of 7 wounds I dealt to the ones I take was only 1.66 to 1. Overall thoughts on the marches I used. I only got to use Lucia Alex a little bit in my last KVK, like really for like 3 or 4 hours. This KVK I used Lucia with Alex almost exclusively, and to me it was by far my best march that I used. Having used Scipio Lucia all last KVK, and then Lucia Alex almost all of this KVK, I honestly prefer Lucia Alex. And to me, Lucia Alex is the best march in the game, right? It's the fastest one out of the Lucia combos that are out there, right? Gorgo, Scipio, or Alex. The instant proc, I think, makes a huge difference. And then also, if you just want to look at the utility that Alex's expertise, the debuff that he brings, I think it's by far the best like utility as far as debuff or buff that any of these 3 commanders bring. So it might not do the best in dueling, but as far as what I think is just one of the most fun and just best marches in the game, if you gave me the option, I would pick Lucia Alex. My second best performing march, you can make an argument whether it's Joan YSG, right, with Artifact, or ZL Herman. To me, they were clearly like a step below the Lucia Alex, but obviously both are really good. And you can just see how the marches perform on screen. But let's actually get to some thoughts, right? Because the stats, and by the way, I did actually say before KVK my goal was to hit 2 bill KP, and I passed that. But it feels really empty because we lost, right? Because when you lose, and personally, if I had to do some self-reflection, like I could have done more, right? It feels empty, right? And when you lose, people can say a lot of things. They're like, hey, you know what? This kingdom's full of KP chasers. Right? They could say all these things, and there's really not much for us to say because we ended up not winning, right? And for me personally, when we lost, one, I was kind of bummed about it just because uh, I know I personally worked really, really hard this KVK. Like I played a lot, and I know probably like the 50 or 60 people that I consistently saw in voice and were online all the time. I know how much effort they put in, and it was disappointing for them too. Uh, but then, obviously after a few days, the kind of like the I don't call it depression. It wasn't depression, but I was just kind of bummed for a few days. Then it turned into like anger briefly, and then now it's like just like fire and motivation. Like I don't think I've ever been more motivated to actually help a kingdom to step up in whatever way I can to help us kind of grow from this and go into the next KVK and beyond. Right. So that's where I'm at. I'm really fired up, and it's not like I'm upset at anyone or anything. Like I get it. If anything, uh, I I want to thank all our opponents this KVK and even our allies, right? Because like looking back now, this is the most fun KVK I had, and there were times when it was really challenging. There were times when I was really exhausted. There were times when things didn't go our way, but like after a little bit of time looking back, really the things that stand out to me is like some of the awesome memories we had, right? Like just like all the joking around we did in Discord. If you guys have followed any of our channels, well, just like a lot of where a lot of the 68 members will come through Discord, right? So like Only Farmer, Plato, me, Socks, like that's like we don't do that for stream, right? Like that's pretty much what it's like in Discord while we're fighting, and it is a lot of fun, and there is going to be a lot of people that I think that were part of our kingdom, this KVK, that are moving on. Whether it's just because when you lose, that's the nature of it, but also that's just kind of just the nature of KVK to KVK. I think I gotta say for them is like thank you. I'll cherish like the good memories we had because there was just a lot of good memories, and I don't want that to get lost just because we ended up losing the KVK. There was a lot of like awesome things that happened in the off season, last off season, leading up to the pre KVK, right to the KVK. Like we still had a lot of fun and a lot of good memories. So I do want to thank the people in the kingdom for that. The second one is style makes fights. So if anyone follows boxing, that's a very common saying. Usually for the professionals, what they're talking about is, depending on whether someone's a southpaw or like a conventional stance boxer, right? Like even though someone could be a fighter than someone else, but if the styles don't match up, you can end up losing. But also when it comes to like viewing or commentary, a lot of times what they're talking about is whether the fight's going to be exciting, right? So if a boxer is very, very good, but he's a very defensive boxer who's just looking there to win rounds to get points, it's not going to be very exciting to watch him. And if you pair him up against an action-packed boxer, the fight's not going to be that exciting to watch, right? And so there's like two contexts for that. I use this quote in this case because for me personally, I got about like 2.5 times more KP this KVK than I did last KVK, right? Did I all of a sudden become a much better player this KVK than last? No, I didn't. But where I was at before, the seeding and just where the diplo we had and the nature of the KVK, I just didn't get fighting. Like I had about a 3-hour Kinsland fight my last KVK, and then the KVK before I didn't even have a Kinsland fight. So for a lot of the players that are watching this, just know that a lot of time KP, it just depends on the level you're fighting at and really the competition, the diplo. It's important to kind of know or get a gauge of how strong you are without just basing everything on KP, right? Because let's just say we go back like 4 months, 5 months to me in KVK 6 for me, and I found in this KVK, I'm pretty confident I still could have cleared like 1.3, 1.4 bill KP, right? But we just didn't have enough fighting in the last KVK. So a lot of times styles makes fights. If you love fighting, if you enjoy fighting, which I do, I like open fielding or just fighting in KVK is one of like the most fun things to me, because you build up all this time and finally get to test it against competition and fight against someone else. If you love fighting, what I would recommend is to move up in competition level, because you're more likely to get more intense, but also like more challenging and longer fights. And if you enjoy fighting, I think that's the way to go. The next thing is contributing beyond the stats. I've already shouted out Only Farmer a few times now, and she's not the only one. But I think this KVK, I knew this before theoretically, and I kind of got it, but I actually really experienced this KVK, how a person, and there was a lot of people in this KVK in 2268, just like they were, their contribution beyond the stats they put up to our ability to fight and our ability to perform. And I'm not going to shout out any more names, just because there was a lot, you know, and I don't want to leave anyone else and like minimize their contribution. But from just being there in voice to really doing like the little things that won't show up in the stats, but that really help the kingdom, like letting people in the door, changing alliances, teleporting, following markers, you know, even like bringing like a positive attitude, like joking around in Discord. There's just so many things that like goes into contributing to the culture and the performance actually of a kingdom that goes beyond the stats that we track. And I think that's why, you know, like that's why it's so important for me that, you know, in our kingdom we do a voice interview, and hopefully like we can even screen that process better, because getting a feel for the person is, and like having like a person that contributes to, in that aspect is what I think the path is to build like a winning culture, and like a winning a kingdom that's like on the path of success, you know. And for me personally, I probably had about like 10 to 15 seconds where I consider maybe I should migrate out when I first found out that we lost, and then like kind of like the aftermath of it. But it was pretty clear to me that, hey, you know what, I want to stay, right? And then really what's more important, right? Usually when you're thinking about like one choice or another, do I quit the job? Do I stay? Do I quit the job? Or do I stay? What would actually be more helpful isn't whether you stay or go, where you do choice A or choice B. It's that if you stay, how do you optimize the situation? If you leave, how do you optimize the situation, right? So if I stay, how do I optimize? You know, like how do I actually take the experience I have from this KVK and the lessons I learned, and then figure out how I can actually help make the kingdom better. And that's kind of the conclusion I came to pretty quick. So I mean, I've said it a couple times in the previous videos and streams, but I do plan on actually stepping up more. If you guys don't know, in real life I own a business, right? We're going on 11 years, and I want to say I'm in charge of a lot of people, but I'm in charge of enough people, and I deal with like stuff on a day-to-day basis where I'm responsible. So in this game, I've never been an R4, and I've literally gone out of my way to avoid all responsibilities besides just what I do with my account, and then what the kingdom wants me to do, right? Like I kind of joke around before that just being told what to do without any responsibilities is actually a very satisfying thing. I think for a lot of people with a lot of responsibilities, or are supposed to be a leader, or have been a leader for a while, getting to be in a position where you have no responsibility and you literally are just like a good worker bee or a peon that just follows direction is actually kind of satisfying, right? But I think after this KVK and just you know, kind of the motivation I feel, I actually feel called to step up more. So obviously I'm helping out with migration now, but I'm also like offering to do more in a way where I can help leadership to help grow this kingdom. I think that's kind of the next step for me. Finally, some thoughts on quantity versus quality, right? If the quality of the quantity is shit, the quality, just the side with the quality is always going to win. But if there's decent enough quality with the quantity, it is very, very hard for less numbers to beat significantly more numbers in this KVK. And I really experienced that, right? For anyone that actually watched our KVK, if you actually look like from in a 24-hour period, which side was winning more often, I would say for probably about like 16 to 18 hours a day, we were winning, right? Lots of times we were dominating. But then when we went into our downtime, a lot of the progress we made just got wiped out, right? And on the side where we had a lot less numbers, that swing both ways just became more and more noticeable. And I think on the third day, the dam finally just broke. And I don't know why we still haven't caught on to this as a community, right? Because I think a lot of people saw 1960 and how they were dominant before the 1093 loss. And just with the Imperial line dropping lower and all these things going on, right? Like the ideal at the time was to go to a one alliance kingdom. But since then, right, 1093 has shown that, like, you know, with quality numbers, you could just literally just overwhelm much more quality. And we've seen that with like these camps where they have like 2 kingdoms. I forgot which one it was. I think it was 1365 against like a camp with 1188 and 1079 and 1175 in it, and those 3 kingdoms, they're solid to like Imperium kingdoms. They just ended up overwhelming 1365 with sheer, like, just the sheer amount of numbers they have. I think it's time to start revisiting this idea that, hey, one alliance kingdom. I think if you could squeeze out more numbers with quality, that's actually the way to go. And we'll kind of see how this plays out in this next KVK with 1093 and 1960. I think that'll be very interesting. But me personally, having experiences, I think there are a lot of weaknesses and challenges to being a one alliance kingdom, right? Like, you can't have a downtime. And the reality is, if you can't have a downtime as a one alliance kingdom, you're gonna have to have pilots, right? Or else if you don't, and you're a one alliance kingdom, then you better have a lot of good allies that can actually support you during your downtime. Or else, like, if everyone is on the same downtime and you have less numbers, it's just very, very hard. And I experienced that firsthand. Now, I'm not necessarily advocating for pilots. I personally, I'm the only person that has ever played my account, but I'm just stating like the reality of the situation, right? And it's this thing where, like, we kind of joke around like it's not real, but like anyone that's playing at a higher level know that's pretty prevalent in kingdoms. And I think a one alliance kingdom is there's I get wanting to avoid the Imperium burden, but also trying to run one alliance has its challenges that comes with it. And then finally, let's talk about what's next. So I talked about migration. I think our migration opens June 10th or June 11th. So when this video comes out, it'll be like 5 or 6 days from now. If you are interested in kind of what we're about, please like migrate. I'll put the link to the Discord in the description. It's 2268migration.com. I would say what we're really looking for is if you go back to the thoughts, if you can resonate with a lot of what I'm saying as far as like contributing beyond the stats, being an objective player, understanding like the requirement for us is pretty high as far as you know, not only the stats you have to get, but just showing up and like being a team player. Ideally, you could be in Discord. You have enough farms to help like fill with your farms, like all those things, and then just like the amount of hours and grind. And if that really appeals to you, then we would love for you to apply and join the team. So please apply if you're interested in that. Some self-scouting. I'll go with a positive for me personally, and then I'll go with a kingdom, and then so it's a positive for self-scouting. I was really happy with the amount of grind I could put in this KVK. Like I said, I played a lot, and I was only one playing. I paced it really well. When we lost, we had a Zig fight that we were planning to go to the next day. I had killed enough troops where I would have to heal my hospital after every round of fighting, but I actually still had enough to run 7 marches, which is kind of where I wanted to be for what up to that point I thought was going to be our biggest fight. I was fighting I was fighting pretty much all out because of the way I was running T4 and T5s, and I didn't do a lot of stupid stuff. I still had a lot of resources and speeds left, so I was pretty happy with the pacing I did do. As far as the weaknesses or stuff I could do better, just even like looking at how I did in Canyon, because I like to use Canyon as a way to gauge where, you know, like my 5 marches is relative to other people. I still have a ways to go. When there was, like, for example, enemy elimination events where everyone is on and just like fighting, right? Like my output just isn't up there. I like my equipment needs to get a lot better. I think that's the stuff that, you know, takes the longest to catch up on. And as a younger player, right before maybe the last 2 months, since I got to KVK 4, most of my resources had been diverted towards getting the commanders caught up. And I wouldn't say I'm fully caught up. I'm pretty caught up now. Like my equipment needs a lot better to be a lot better, for the quality of my account to be better. That I just need more time. But I like, if I had to take a guess in this KVK, I would say there's probably like about 200 to 250 players whose accounts were probably ahead of mine as far as just like on-field performance. Right now, I did outperform a lot of them. That was just through a lot of work. But my account is not top level. It's not even close to top level yet. As far as a kingdom, the stuff that we did do well, like we had a core group of probably about 50 or 60 people that gave a lot, and then we had like probably another 50 that, you know, they met the contribution goals, they did enough, and then, you know, we had about 40 that didn't meet goals, right? So I think that core group, it's I personally am really grateful for just like being able to be a part of that and being able to kind of witness that for the like the 15 or so days we had fighting. I really like the leadership in this kingdom. Obviously I get along with them, but I know what it takes to do like data, to, you know, constantly have to deal with like people's requests, and, you know, people will bring up problems, and then like it's like you put out one fire here and then like someone else, and it really is a thankless job. And I know what it's like when it's done at a high level, and I know what it's like when it's not done at a high level. And I always say like leadership here, as far as like managing a kingdom from the migration to, you know, the requirements to doing town hall meeting, all that stuff, they do at a higher level. I do feel like as KVK went on, especially like as people got more stressed, like towards the end of KVK, communication started like breaking down a little bit. Like we couldn't get as many people on. Like we literally just couldn't get enough numbers on to start sustaining some of the stuff that we wanted to do. And there is some like communication stuff I think that we can improve on. But more importantly, also, I think we need to get more quality with the numbers we do have. But we do plan on being a one alliance kingdom. We want to kind of take it to the next level, right? Overall, like nothing has really changed from the video I made before I joined 2068. What I thought about it, I think it's a very promising kingdom with a lot of potential. A lot of the pieces are here for it to be great. Are we great right now? No, and I think there's a lot of room for growth. I think when you lose a KVK, or when you go through like challenges or adversity, it's a great opportunity to actually grow from it, and that's what I hope we do from this. Like I know I personally, I'm very motivated to grow as a player, but also help the kingdom grow. And my hope is that the kingdom ends up growing from this. And then finally, I talked about it before, I'll say it again, just like very grateful for our opponents, but also all the players that were in the kingdom, right? Like whether we're kingdom mates in the future or not, I'm still really grateful for like having fought on this same team for this KVK. And like looking back on it now, I have a lot more like positive memories than I have negative memories. And really, it's not even negative memories, it's like the positive memories. Like I'll always remember it, and like just thank you, right? But what's next? I'm not sure. If it was up to me, I would do a first pop, because I hate being out of KVK, right? I just want to be part of that KVK process. But I think we might do probably like 2 skips, maybe 3, to recover, and then it's on to the next KVK. So right now, the next phase is migration. If what I say resonates with you, we do still have some spots available. Definitely apply. Would love to get new teammates to play the next KVK with. And if you watch all the way to the end of this 26-minute rant, thank you so much. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. The engagement really helps out with the video, but also the channel. And then I'll talk to you guys next time.